When you got your family, you know you got it all. Them the ones that's gonna be with you every time you fall.
Urban Streets Podcast, another episode, of course, Urban Streets Podcast, where we represent for the streets, which is really just a euphemism to say that we are for the people. And as always, a part of our mission is to highlight, of course, everyday voices and expertise from within our community. Um, Today we're recording on January 1st, believe it or not. Don't know when you're going to check this video out, but this is really an important topic that we want to discuss. I feel like to start the year off right. What do you think, AC? The topic we're going to discuss today.
Hey, I love the topic. You know, it's a very important topic. The forever ongoing, how do we successfully have relationships and not so much turbulence? Why is there so much turbulence within relationships?
Yeah, we want to discuss that topic today. How to date effectively in 2026. And as you mentioned, AC, this is a good topic, but more than a topic, we have our special guest, Miss Rachel. She is going to be on the streets with us today here on the podcast. Hey, Rachel, say hello to everybody.
Hey, everyone. How's everyone doing? Morris, AC, how are y'all?
Oh, we're doing pretty
Doing
good.
Great.
Good.
Doing
Roll
great.
out the introduction, my brother. Roll out the introduction.
Definitely. So as we talking about, let's discuss how to date effectively in 2026. Rachel, when you think about that topic, what makes it important for you? Why should we be talking about dating effectively in 2026?
You know, right now, and you can see it in any conversations you're having. When I'm having conversations with my girls and I'm in mixed company with men and women, different ages, right now, the dating landscape is so turbulent. It's like everyone wants to date and find their person, but no one's connecting for some reason. I know like a lot of things that I hear, people are scared, people have been hurt. So everyone has a wall up. And especially in my age group, I'm 43. So in my age group, we've seen some things. And we are very, we very much, and it's a good thing and bad thing. We've learned to see red flags, but what it also does is as soon as you see like one pink flag, you're like, oh, no, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good. Wow.
I like to refer to it as relationship PTSD.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So you just automatically step back instead of like, okay, just because it's a little pink doesn't mean like it should all be gone. You still got there and give chances. But once you've had your heart broken a few times or you've run into some stuff, it's really hard to do. It is.
Absolutely. I like to sometimes ignorance is bliss, it's not always good to know and have all the experiences that you've had. Because, as you stated a moment ago, it can make you have a wall up and not be an equal opportunity to get to know them.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because my experience has been that among singles, right? Like the number one prayer request, Rachel and AC that I've seen, the number one prayer request, sometimes more than being a millionaire, is God. They'll be like, God, send me my spouse. You ever heard of that? Anybody ever heard people praying that prayer?
Absolutely.
Yes. But Sierra's prayer, everybody wants Sierra's prayer, what she prayed for and everything.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
But the irony of that.
Continue, Morris.
Yeah, but the irony of that is like it's the number one prayer request, but for most people, as Rachel kind of indicated, it's normally seemingly the most unanswered prayer, right? We feel like we asked for it, but we're not getting the answer. And it's the number one source a lot of times for a lot of singles in our age range and in our generation. Would you agree with that, Rachel?
Yeah, it's true. I think I would say even though there's some of us who don't always make it a priority, or we say, let's keep it real. We say it's not a priority, and we say, well, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to focus on this, focus on that, focus on that. But in the back of your mind, you're thinking to yourself, man, I really would love to be able to share this with somebody. I would love to have a companion. I would love to have a partner and a helpmate in this life.
Yeah.
I like to pray for a mate, but I wonder if we really pray for ourselves to be the most dateable person. If you get what I'm saying.
Yes, and people
Okay.
don't do that.
But are we introspective enough to pray for ourselves to be the best version of ourselves?
True.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that reminds me of a one time we went on a few dates, but I could tell that the person was it was like an interview. They were interviewing me. And
They're interviewing
it's just
you.
the way
I
that
thought that you would be interviewing them because Rachel, you seem like a great catch, but keep going.
Yeah, natural. Like a natural. But that's the thing. On the surface. See, a lot of people seem
that's
like
very right.
on the surface. That's the thing.
It's a surface. So like this guy,
Listen.
he was interviewing me. He was asking me questions, and I could tell whenever I would answer something, he would like nod and blah blah. But the funny thing was, I saw him doing that, and I was thinking to myself, I'm checking off his boxes, but he never once considered whether he was checking off my boxes for him. He never once considered how is she viewing me. He was so concerned with how I was coming, to him. And like you were just saying, like on the surface, like me on the surface, and I tell people this all the time when I'm dating. Oh, you seem great. I said, I'm not perfect. I'm not great. I said, you haven't got to know me
Not perfect.
yet. We all got flaws, and I might have a flaw that you do not like. You know.
You could be the type that when the guy's playing the game, you keep walking past the screen. See, that's a flag. You can't keep walking past the screen if I'm playing the game.
Yeah. But no, Rachel hit at a point earlier that I actually had this conversation with someone earlier. I promise you this conversation was had earlier, which is the fact that, imagine some of us, AC, you said it, on the surface, a lot of us seem like we have a good potential. And actually, we do have good potential. But a lot of times people come to relationships thinking about, like you said, AC, trying to be the best version of yourself. They come to the table not giving people a chance to grow into a more perfect person. You know what I'm saying? It's like you said, a pink flag. Like if they have one thing going on with them, it just means you're not my person because I gotta support you or not support you like financially, but like I gotta like work with you. I gotta, you still have some things under construction. What happened to Rachel giving each other a chance in society to be the person that we're called to be? Because it's not overnight that you become that person.
It's not. But here's the thing: I had to learn. You had to start using discernment, right? Because sometimes you can see potential in somebody that they have absolutely no desire to reach, and you have to recognize that early in the game, or you're going to end up spending years with someone. And you're pouring your energy in them to get them to see what you see in them, and it never happens. And now it's 4 or 5 years down the road, and you're like, well, I done wasted all that time. And so after you do that and you start dating again and you see someone else come along and they're not quite where they need to be and they're telling you, well, I'm going to work on it. Let me tell you, a lot of people they'll give you maybe a month or two. And if you ain't made a jump to the next step, they're like, they refuse to waste more years again.
And then another thing.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, excuse me. Like these days, another thing, are our standards too high? Are our standards too high for people? Do we expect too much? Right? Are our expectations too high? A lot of times when we're dealing with the interaction between the male and the female, our expectations may just be too high. How about as a man, right? In my opinion, if a man is a working man and has good income, he has savings, he's at least well-groomed, right? He's not mentally just disabled or anything to that. He did not need to do backflips or jump through hula hoops with gasoline draws on to get a beautiful woman in the right state of mind.
Is that true, Rachel? Is AC onto something? How? Because we're talking about dating effectively. Is effective dating a part of understanding that, hey, everyday people are good enough to date in 2026?
I think everyday people are good enough to date. I think there are some folks whose standards are high. Some folks that need to look within themselves and say, what you're requiring, can you provide that as well? Some people don't think that way, and it's true that some don't have to because everybody's requirements are different, right? But like I'm using me as an example. I have some standards that I don't think are crazy. But there are people that when I say what I'm looking for, they're like, oh, well, that's too much. Or the first question they say is, well, can you provide that? Yes, I can.
Can I interject for a second? Let me ask you this. Could it possibly be, let me see if this is your standard. He's got to be 6'5", run a 4.4 Olympics, and have a 7-figure income, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Incorrect. Incorrect. However, people seem to think that's what it is. And the reason they think that, this is what I say, people, please get off social media. Social media does not encompass every thought that everyone in the world is thinking. I've been in conversations with like, well, you women said, no. We're not going to say you women. You're talking to me. You're focusing on me. So you ask me what I think and what I'm talking about. Do not put me in a group of these women, because I'll date someone who's not 6 feet tall. I'll date someone who makes less money than me.
Be 5'11" and 3/4.
Doesn't have to be. I'm 5'10".
I'm just kidding.
Hey, AC, that's his height. That's AC height, just so you know. But just go.
Is crazy. Continue.
Yeah.
I'm 5'10". I will date a guy that's shorter than me.
But that's very impressive.
However, if he has issues with me wearing heels, then we have a problem.
See, now you're
if he doesn't have,
now you're
right. Now I'm 6'2". But if if he's good and he's 5'7" and he don't mind me being my 6'2" Amazon walking down the street, we good.
Hey, you probably don't. You're close to dunking rims. Very close.
see, I like what Rachel said. She said something. Now I gotta put a clause in there. Make sure you stay watching Urban Streets podcast, because don't get off social media yet without checking out Urban Streets podcast. But in the meantime, she mentioned something that we're getting our standards a lot of times from inappropriate counsel, right? You know what I'm saying? Right. What I've seen on social media is a lot of times a person, just because you got married to somebody you don't like and you got stuck with a baby that you didn't want to have, not saying that there's anything wrong with the baby, now all of a sudden you became an expert on marriage. This is the world we live in, that just because you have a relationship, people feel they're qualified to speak on what we should be doing. Have y'all seen it like that?
Oh yes. Yeah. Constantly. Yeah. I see it even outside of social media, just being in my friend groups. I'm thinking to myself, what made you an expert? Just because you have your one opinion, you can speak on your experience, but do not make that the norm for everyone, because it's not.
Yeah. And so as we speak on, dating effectively in 2026, understanding what does it take. One of the things that I find, and Rachel, you can chime in, because what I find is, and we've been talking a lot about standards, is really the person who's going to fulfill you in a relationship is oftentimes going to be that person that not only meets certain box criteria perhaps, but that person that stimulates your sense of identity, that helps you come alive, that makes you feel like, hey, anything is possible. Because really you can only be satisfied by somebody if there's somebody you're looking for. You know what I mean? So like, it may not be anything wrong with a 5'7" person, but if I'm looking for 6 foot, hypothetically, then that's what I need. You see what I'm saying? But what do you feel about, Rachel? What type of person is it that you should want, or that you do want when it comes to dating?
Her personally, it's subjective, right?
Like I said, I'm saying theoretically, or I'm saying just in general, I feel like a person that you should want, and I'm giving my take as far as advice for dating effectively, is that somebody that stimulates your sense of identity, whether it's spiritual, somebody that makes you feel like you can accomplish your purpose, somebody that you feel like is supportive to the person you're trying to become. But go ahead.
Right. Let me just say this briefly, right? Really quickly, right? I think maybe sometimes we focus more on what we want as opposed to what we need. I think we focus too much on wants and not enough on needs. Sometimes we need people to keep us well-grounded. Sometimes we're the type that likes to fly off the edges, but we need someone to bring us back and reel us back in. Not necessarily somebody who will just approve of our foolish behavior, not just a yes man, so to speak.
Right. Well, so with that comes with knowing yourself and knowing yourself enough to know what you need brought into your life. Right. So me personally, I'm looking for someone who is going to add to me, and we add to each other. Like if we come together, I don't feel like either one of us should feel like we need to smother our identities or our personalities. I say we can mesh, we can be opposites attracts. Like for instance, I am very much a I'm a goofball most of the time, right? I like
gotta love humor in
when
every relationship. The
right,
humor
but
always
here's an example. Here's an example.
Goofy, like I'll goofy.
Well, okay, so here's an example. When I was talking, like if I'm talking to someone and say, "Oh, you're a reader. You like to read?" I'm like, "Yeah, I like to read." "Oh, well, did you read this book by Dr. blah 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 blah?" And I'm like, "No, I read this romance novel that had vampires and werewolves in it." But that's my type of thing. Now, just because he may read self-help books and books written by doctors, and I read something completely different, does not mean that we can't mesh well. He can bring what he's learned into my life, right? And I can get him to loosen up and say, "Hey, everything you read doesn't have to be, this or that." So I was just saying that we can still mesh, and I could bring some laughter and things into his life, and he can bring some of the knowledge that he's getting from what he's reading into mine. So it's a benefit to both. I'm always looking for someone who can teach me some things. Someone who can teach me something is very, very smart to me, whether it's book smarts or street smarts. That's very attractive.
Knowledge is an aphrodisiac.
So, you just have to figure out what you want and what your deal breakers are, because you were saying like, well, someone who doesn't want a 5'7" person, they have to be 6 foot. Everybody has deal breakers. Some people need to have friends and family in their lives that will tell them if sometimes their deal breakers are BS and they need to get over it. If they truly want, they're not reasonable. If you truly want to find somebody, there are certain things like, okay, you got to let that go. If for what you're looking for. For me personally, height is one of those things. It's not for everybody. Some people are like very adamant about it. And I have my opinions on people being adamant about it, but I don't say too much about it because I'm tall myself, and my sons are tall, and so I don't know, how that is where you have to, you want them to be a certain height for a certain reason. So
I mean, it does look a little crazy when the girl is taller than her man. That does look a little crazy, especially if she's like 2 feet taller.
Who cares? Looks crazy to who? Looks crazy to public. Who cares about the public?
Right.
They ain't in my house. You know what I mean?
Okay. But that's good. She says that no matter what, if she makes her choice, she's gonna be loyal. She's gonna be committed, no matter what other people think. That's a good relationship characteristic. That you're not really focused on other people's opinions. I think that's kind of cool. Absolutely. But what I'm hearing from Rachel so far is that dating effectively does mean that we do have to do basically a self-assessment. We got to see what is it we really, as AC said, likewise, what we need. You know what I'm saying? What do we really want? Who are we really trying to become? Because, like, for example, if I'm not naturally funny and there's another person that brings some levity to the relationship, that's going to compliment me and it's going to support the person that I'm trying to become. If I'm not, if I'm more intellectual or something like that, and this person's looking for somebody that brings that intellectual insight, then that's going to help her be the person you're trying to become. You see what I'm saying? And I like that dating effectively requires us to start within, is what I'm hearing. Is everybody in agreement with that? Start within and what we really, who we really are. Because like you say, sometimes we're trying to be somebody we're not. We're being unrealistic about becoming president of the United States. Nothing wrong with president of the United States, but realistically, only one person at a time can function like that. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So let's keep it real, like Urban Streets Podcast normally does. And so that brings me to my next kind of point about dating effectively. And AC, Rachel, either one of y'all can chime in. I feel like there's really 4 different reasons people get together a lot of times. Now I'm saying 4, so take notes if you're watching, but let's see if it's right. I think that a lot of times girls or gentlemen are attracted to the person that's funny. You got the funny person. You got the person that they like to do things with, that's always going here, going there. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's attractive to people. You got the relationships, whether it's right or wrong, that are based on sex. They feel like they like this person because they're good at sexual performance. And then you got the other type of person that's more, I would argue, well-rounded, and you just really authentically appreciate who they are. Rachel, we'll start with you. Do you think that kind of sums up some of the reasons people get together?
Well, you forgot about finances.
Oh,
That's a big one.
Throw that in the wheel.
One.
Yeah,
This day and age, that's number
one. Okay. Fine, yeah,
The economy is crazy. Some people want to get together because they want somebody to share the mortgage. And,
Yeah.
and the bills.
Shacking up in the shack. Shacking up in the shack is crazy.
Okay.
They want a roommate they can have sex with every now and then.
Yeah. Like I said, the fun person, the event person, the sex person, the finance person, are those kind of some of the reasons people get together these days?
I feel like it is. Like for me, I want a person that's an extrovert. I'm not an extrovert. I'm actually an introvert. I will be going to sleep right after this podcast. This is a lot of talking for me. So I want someone who is an extrovert where if we go out, I can just chill, relax in the back, and they are like the life of the party. I like to observe, watch them have fun. I'll do a little something here and there, but that, like for me, that's what I need. I don't need another quiet person. Now we both sit on the couch looking crazy at a party, not saying anything. And so, so someone to kind of compliment you, whether it's an opposite attract thing, or you're both like, really, you both want to be a lot of the party, finances, whether y'all make the same or someone makes less, whatever, just help with that. Sex is a big thing. I'm still young enough for that to be important to me.
Okay.
But some folks, when you get older, it's not like a number one thing. It's not my number one, but it's still up there. Hormones and stuff. I'm in my 40s, so
1A is 1B now. I got you.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, more. So basically the ones you laid out, they are, I feel like the things that people look for most in relationships. So I'm trying to think like what else would they be looking for? I think those are the main ones though.
Yeah. But these days, right, in the dating climate, I think like, do people even know what they want? I think a lot of people don't even know what they want, So we also
they know what they don't want. They know what they don't want, but they don't know what they want.
Right. That in itself is an issue, right? So I think we do need to know what we actually want, and we got to self-assess what would compliment us, right? What type of person would actually compliment us, right? And that self-analyzation, right? Then maybe we can be successful. And at the same time, we got to look at it like this. I think the dating field, particularly in the Black community, is too toxic too, right? We got to bring up toxicity, right? Why are some
toxic meaning? What do you mean by toxic? Break down toxic. Like
toxic meaning I container, meaning you're grabbing each other, you're beating on each other. Okay, don't beat on each other. Number one rule: don't beat on each other. Okay, you can't do that. Okay. Now, toxicity meaning you argue, you have a cantankerous relationship. We have a lot of that going on in our community. Why are our interactions cantankerous so often? Okay.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, for me, toxicity. I mean, I got to go look that up. Pardon my lack of enunciation, but the thing is, I think toxic to me has to do with a lot of what we've been talking about, which is being very judgmental. Very much looking for us to be something we're not. You got to remember, as African Americans, our whole identity is understanding the struggle, right? Our whole identity is becoming something a lot of times we've never been. And so to answer your question, AC, I find that with dating and relationships, especially if we're going to be effective in 2026, we have to look at not only the past accomplishments of a person, not only the present state of where they're at, say they're financially stable right now. We got to look at, okay, I believe in the person you're trying to become. So for example, if I have a dream to be CEO and I'm not a CEO at the time we're dating, I mean, maybe that I would need a person who would believe in me as I'm working on a goal. And I think a lot of times we say things cliche like, well, you can't marry potential, but Rachel, how important is it for somebody to have potential for the future when you're considering making a commitment?
So that's true. Well, it depends on what their potential, what their goal is, right? Like you said, like if I was dating a guy and he said, well, I want to be president of the United States in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure you're gonna hang up the phone. Okay. I mean, but go ahead. What if you look at the news in 5 years?
I think it has to, for me, if your goals are realistic, and I understand, like you don't want to mess up anybody's dreams or anything like that. Like, I'm here for you. I'm about to ruffle some feathers maybe, but you're 55 and you want to be the next, worldwide rapper. Hey,
okay.
Do your thing. I will cheer for you from the sidelines, but I probably can't go on that ride with you. But that's just me. So
okay.
So again, it goes back to knowing yourself, right? Because you can meet somebody who has the potential. Said what, AC?
Why this kid rap at 55? What's up? Don't say that when Mick Jagger's 55.
Listen,
It's on the stage.
With the way social media is, you can go viral at 55 being a rapper, and you could be that guy that was on one of the, I don't know if it was football or I think it might have been football. Anyway, he was out there, the North Carolina dude, rapping, doing something. He was from social media. And he looked like he was in his 50s. So we can. But again, me looking into myself and knowing myself, that is not the person for me, but hey, you're good to go. So when you're looking at someone and they're asking about their potential and you're asking about their goals in life and what they're trying to accomplish, see where you can fit in to helping that person. So it all goes back into looking inward,
Right. Help him write his raps. You don't want to help a 55-year-old write his raps. Why you don't want to just help him write his raps? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But this is such a topic, and I mean, dating effectively, and I'm learning something in this podcast. We know that there's, it all sounds like with personal reflection. Who am I really? And as AC said, Rachel said it as well. That's not an easy conclusion. It's not like, oh, this, you got to really take time to be introspective, and a lot of times, of course, that comes from spiritual enlightenment, as far as who you see yourself and how you see yourself as. We talked about the fact that the other person should compliment you, or you could feel like by you being a part of their life, you can compliment them, some reciprocity in that, kind of like an iron sharpens iron. And then also, like with AC saying about the Black community in part, not saying that we're more than other communities, but recognizing we know our own people, the notion that we sometimes don't give each other a chance, right? Sometimes we count somebody out with the pink flag before we recognize the green flag is right around the corner. And I think for me, when we talk about dating effectively, that's one of the things that hurts the most, is that we've been so oppressed as a people that now we expect unrealistic standards for each other, because that's what we've been through. Like unrealistic expectations have been put on us, and now we put burdens in relationships that we really can't bear. I think that's a big problem, and I think that that's one of the barriers. I mean, any thoughts on that?
Go ahead, Rachel.
I guess I would like to talk about like what some of the unrealistic expectations are, because we know right now that there is a war between, maybe not a war, but there is this Black man versus Black woman that's happening.
Gender war. I
right.
agree.
Is war the right word? Is war the right term to use? I think it is.
You gotta identify.
Keep it real.
It's a gender war. Continue.
Yes, there is a gender war right now, and it's not getting better. Like I see, it's getting worse, and I don't know how to say it again.
It's a war that no one can win. Like there will never be a victor. It's a war where there'll never be a victor. Continue.
And with that happening, and everyone having their own expectations for each other, and if I'm not going to do this until you do this. Well, you got to do this in order for me to do this. And then what happens? We're at a standstill. And now we're talking about how in the world can we date effectively? That's why we're having this topic right now. Because it feels like everyone is out to get what they can get,
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah, and see, this brings up the heart of dating effectively. Dating effectively, to me, what I heard in that has to do with really getting back to this, the old school, if I could use that language, where people actually appreciated people. Because now, if there's a gender war, who's going to sacrifice first? Well, I'm not going to pay unless you pay your, I'm not going to do this unless you do that. Meaning nobody wants to take initiative, because if you really believe in people, then you're not worried about what you can get out of it. And I think if we're going to date effectively, you got to be prepared to support, to give, rather than just being on the receiving end. Because that's unfair. It's like, if you look at me, how much money I make, the reality is, statistically, right? A lot of times African American women make more than a lot of African Americans in the same household, right? So we can't say that stereotypically, well, the man has to make more. I mean, we can't necessarily say that, because it's not the same that way today. We can't necessarily say that, you know, this person has to pay this type of bill versus that person. It really depends on what the agreement is within the household. I think that if we start actually caring about people and not things, that would eliminate one of the major barriers that's stopping us from actually getting together.
I mean, at the end of the day, in this day and age, we also got to focus on roles, because I think roles are necessary. Roles have to be established. There cannot be two heads to one household. They just can't. If you see a human being walking down the street with two heads, what would you look? You would be like, okay, that's a weirdo, right? There's something wrong with it. Two heads, right? Okay. Now think about it. Look at the army. There's going to be a sergeant to one brigade. There's going to be a captain to a brigade, right? There's always going to be a head to everything, right?
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but here's the thing. A lot of people, when they hear the head of household, they automatically think the men, right? The man should be the head of the household. However, sometimes a woman might be a better leader than that man, and they might need to be the head of the house.
In this day and age, that's 100% right. But I even though in itself, I think that's problematic. But yes, in this day in itself,
right. That's going even deeper. Like, how did that dynamic even?
Why are you even with a dude that you feel like can't even lead you anywhere? Why do you even find that attractive? Okay.
Now y'all saying something. Now this is the Urban Streets podcast, and I'll be honest with you, you guys are saying some controversial stuff, which is what we do. We keep it real. But thank y'all for being so candid. And I like, what you talk about foundation. If you really talk about the foundation, a head. For the way I look at it, if you're going to be head of something, you got to be the foundation, which is something that can be built upon. So like a man being a foundation, not saying 100% financially making more, but like you say, have some sense of vision for the family, have some type of commitment to the family, some type of leadership. You got to be some degree edifying. You can't be an ignorant male, and be truly a foundation for anyone, right? It takes a lot of knowledge. And I think, like this discussion, we're having this discussion, but relationships should have these discussions, because I think the more understanding we get and the more dialogue we have one to another, the more I think we'll realize that sometimes what we've been wanting is not what we need. And the person we're trying to become is who the person in front of us can maybe help us to be. But we're not giving enough chances to each other to discuss. And that's heartbreaking, Rachel. An African-American woman, an African-American male at a certain age should not have to look outside of their community to claim that's the only place I can find somebody. We shouldn't be at a certain age and say that out of all things, we have good jobs, right? We have cars, we have houses individually, but we can't, number one, live amongst our own people or date our own people. That would seem sick to me.
Right. I think a lot of times we got to look at it like this too. Why do we end up in tumultuous situations and relationships sometimes? Why does that happen so often in our community? You ever heard of this? Liketh, seeketh, liketh, right? Now, I think innately...
Yeah, I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, liketh, seeketh, liketh. So in other words, if you have a woman, right, she's always with a volatile male. Every relationship the dude is volatile. Every guy she get with is a drama-filled dude. Then you have to ask yourself, is innately something inside of her, does she attract that type of energy? Does she emit that type of energy herself?
She or he? Okay. Is that what you're getting? So basically, the person...
That's why I stated, like, in this context, if a woman goes from a drama guy to drama guy, right? That's where liketh, seeketh, liketh comes in. You have to ask yourself.
I'll say this, which I say sometimes, jokingly, but also not jokingly. Why the heck are there so many drama men to choose from? That's a problem.
Drama men?
I love it. I love this.
Drama men? You say drama men?
Why are there so many men with drama and toxicity to choose from? Why do we not have more good men than bad men? And maybe we do. But
go Go on a complete diatribe right now and allow me to retort.
Wait, we're not keeping up the gender war on Urban Street podcast, are we?
Let her cook. Hey, Marvin, let her cook. Go, Rachel.
I just wanted to get that out there. Like, how come we got so many issues? But you know, but there are what's the good word? Now I just say toxic and drama-filled women as well. But when I hear that sometimes, when I hear the story,
don't lay off the men. Get out.
No, I'm not. I'm going back to that. I was just acknowledging, because I know how social media is. I was just acknowledging that there are women that are toxic as well. But when I hear the stories and I talk to women, and not just social media, like actually have conversations, I'm like, how come there are so many of these men of all statuses now, not just the ones that are over 6 feet tall and make six figures and that 10%, 1%, whatever, the short kings and the not so handsome kings. And that is also an issue. Why are there so many that are like that for so many women to be choosing them? Well, and sometimes you don't know. I know, and I'm about to go on a tangent. Sorry. And sometimes you don't know at the very beginning, because as much as we talk about men, don't do this, that, they are very good at hiding themselves for a little while before showing their true colors.
Get us, Rachel. You go. Get us. All right. Get us. We deserve this. Okay, look. Now let me tell you this though. Let's keep it real though, right?
Yeah.
A lot of men in this day and age have a lot of feminine traits, right? If a man can't control himself, that is not a masculine trait. Self-control is very important, right? Now, a lot of men in this day and age, tell me if you agree or not. I mean, facts are facts, but you can still tell me your opinion. But a lot of boys these days are raised by single mothers. Is this true or untrue?
I'm assuming it's true. I have 2 boys that are being raised by me.
Mother? Mm-hmm. You are the stat. So you are the stat.
I am, right.
But anyway, so the point being is this. If a boy is going to be raised by a woman, he's going to adapt some of these feminine traits. He might be too emotional. These are traits that he's going to adapt.
I was about to say, what do you consider a feminine trait?
Well, being too emotional, again, like a man not being able to control himself, right? That's not a masculine trait, because a man must know. And in the situation,
are you saying that not controlling themselves is a feminine trait?
Well, let me ask you this. Like, notoriously, right?
Wait. She asked the question. Break that down for us.
When we think about feelings and emotions, most of the time we know women own that. Women own that department when it comes to emotions and feelings.
We know how to express ourselves.
Excuse me?
You mean we've been allowed to express ourselves, and men have been stunted emotionally by males in society?
Is it more likely that a woman will cry than a man?
Okay.
Well, I
guess.
I agree that the nature of a woman is a little bit more emotional than the nature of a male.
Right. That's the ultimate.
But it's not our nature though. It's how we were raised. Right. Society, and this is not women's fault. Society told men, and who runs society? Other men. Men told men they couldn't have emotions. They needed to keep stuff to themselves. They shouldn't cry. And they shouldn't do that. And so now women were told, yes, you can, because that's what women do. Boys don't cry. Only girls cry. You're being like a girl. You're being too emotional. Blah 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 blah. So when men get older and they try to express themselves, it comes out as what? It comes out as punching and murder, and all this other stuff. So it's not because it's our nature. It's because that's how they were brought up.
Got you. We got to be realistic though. The world isn't going to be as forgiving to a male as they will be to a female. If a man
change it will. Like, you can't just keep going back in the past. Well, this is what happened. Change it.
No. Well, check this out. If a man cries, a lot of time he gets ridiculed, right?
By who?
That's true.
If a woman cries, 1,000.
If a man cries and gets ridiculed, who's he get ridiculed by?
Well, no. We could get there. But right now I'm saying what is, right? I'm not saying it shouldn't be corrected. I'm not saying how do we correct it, right? I'm talking about what is, right? This is what is right now as we stand.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm saying this is where we are right now.
Yeah.
Our boys and sons need to understand that the world isn't going to care about you as much as it's going to care about a female. It's just not. So you must be stronger.
AC. Stronger. Yeah, AC. I get. Yeah, AC, I get what you're saying as far as like we have to be able as a male to be a little bit more solid and stable
Right.
because that is
Right.
one of
That's
the
what I'm saying.
natures of a male. But I do disagree that a male cannot be emotional
No,
because
that's never
one
what
of
I
the
said.
things imagine I'm not
Right.
saying that. Well, I'm saying it this way. You know, I agree that men should be able to be emotional because imagine, you know, I can be smart on the one hand, I can be strong, but I
Mhm.
do have feelings and I should be able to express those feelings. And
Express
it's
them.
not fair that I
I
can't
agree with that.
represent that and be in a relationship. You know what I'm
Ideally,
saying?
I agree with that. Ideally, from an idealistic standpoint, I agree with you, but it doesn't mean that that's
Okay.
what it is. That's not
But
what
okay,
it is.
So what you're
if you're
saying then,
talking,
Continue. Whichever one go first.
what I'm
Whoever.
saying, well, I'm gonna let Rachel hit me up, and hit us up. But what I'm saying to acknowledge what AC is kind of saying that it is important, notwithstanding, you know, different gender roles, for men to be able to be a little bit more stable. They need to be able to be supportive in a relationship. That's what I am hearing.
mhm.
And I
Right, and
think we
that's
can
all.
all agree
That's
with
simply
that.
all
What
I'm
y'all
saying.
think?
Simply all I'm saying is that the adversities that your son is going to face in this world, the world is going to be less caring about him than they are about you, and that's just a fact.
Let
That's
me, so,
true.
so can I ask if you have children?
Yes,
Can I ask their ages?
I got a daughter. She's 17. 17.
We're getting personal
Okay,
on
so
urban streets. No, I'm just joking.
close
No,
to
just
mine.
joking.
So
Go keep
I
going.
have two boys. I have two boys that are 19 and 14. So I have what's that, a Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Um, we have a lot of conversations. When Gen Z and Gen Alpha get to be our ages, it's going to be completely different. These Gen Z and Gen Alpha boys and girls are very tolerant. They speak about their emotions. They talk to each other as friends. They don't keep it inside. Like people our age, say like men our age.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, y'all broke up, man. That's too bad. You want to drink? When I say that my boys have conversations with their friends and they talk about their emotion, they talk about their feelings, that is
Okay.
something that Gen Z and Gen Alpha is doing. So when they get up in society and start contributing to society more, what we've experienced is not going to be the same thing that they're going to experience. They
I
are
agree.
way more open and in tune with their emotions than even me being a product of a baby boomer. Technically I'm a millennial, but I identify as Gen X.
Hey, I'm
I
taking
have,
notes for everything Rachel is saying because all these different generations I didn't know, but now
Yeah,
I'm
man.
gonna go look them
Yeah,
all
man.
up.
Yeah.
I
I think
have, I have
every 12 years signifies another generation.
I think it does. I think is it 12 years?
Yeah, it's 12 years.
So I technically I'm a millennial, but I identify as Gen X more so in keeping my emotions inside and kind of like, you know, this is the way it is. You kind of deal with what's going on. You don't whine about it. You just do it. That's
Right.
kind of like a Gen X type of mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But the later generations aren't doing that. Like I learned when I was in the workforce, when more millennials started coming in, I learned about taking mental health days and telling this job, go
Okay.
suck it. I don't feel like going in today. I'm doing what I need to do for myself. And so
Okay.
these generations coming up, the way society is going to be when they're our age is not going to be recognizable. It's going to be completely different.
Yeah,
It really
absolutely.
is.
Absolutely. You know, and another thing, we also need to know how to actually debate. You know, a lot of times in our community, we don't debate, we argue. There's a difference between arguing and
Yes,
right?
yes. And start insulting each other all like from the get-go. Yes.
That's called an ad hominem when you're not even listening to the message, you're attacking the person. That's called an ad hominem.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Well, y'all using a lot of big words. If y'all could just keep it like layman for me, I really would like learn to be good with that.
right.
You know.
But this the
But
thing,
witness
like,
this.
continue, Morris. Go ahead.
No, you're right because what she's saying, and with again the theme talking about how to date effectively is really relationship, according to Rachel, according to what you're saying. If we're not, relationship is built on communication
Yeah.
and knowledge. It depends. It's like the depending on what you're talking about is going to depend on how you connect with someone. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What you're allowed to share and what that other person is, supports you in. It depends on if you relate. I know for me, the number one thing oftentimes, as far as the barrier to successful relationship, whether platonic or otherwise, has to do with, do you understand me? You see what I'm saying? Like, do you understand? Am I able to share not just the shallow things like a Dave Chappelle concert or program, but do you also understand? I'm using, but anyway, do you also understand, some of my spiritual needs, some of my educational aspirations? Can I speak that way? So again, not everybody's going to meet your need, but I do see and hear through both of you that communication is something that we gotta allow into relationship if we want to have them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we're talking about communication, like everyone's entitled to their own opinion, right? And also,
meaning what?
I prefer for your opinion to be educated, though. Like me personally, if I don't think everyone should have an opinion, okay? Because if your opinion's not coming from a place where you're educated, where you're speaking from a place of education, what you're spewing is rhetoric, and I can't engage in rhetoric.
Well, that Proverbs 23, there's a proverb. You could check it out afterwards. It's Proverbs 24, 3-4. It says it this way. It says, by wisdom a house is built, talking about a family, through knowledge, through understanding rather, it is established, and through knowledge, her rooms, her being a metaphor for the household, is filled with rare and beautiful treasure. In other words, it's a joy to be in a home that's filled with the right type of information, the right type of culture.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? Because when we talk about relationships, people bring culture to the table. They bring identity. So depending on what you're talking about, it's really true. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Who you are is really more than what you look like. It's actually what you believe. So I agree with that point, AC. And Rachel, do you, as we begin to wrap up, do you think that knowledge and edification is important to establishing effective relationships?
Of course. Everything that we've been through since from a young age has molded us into who we are. And you're bringing that version of yourself into relationship. It's and you're talking to someone else and getting their version as well. Like you were talking about being understanding. Men and women, we're not going to understand each other 100%, but it's the key is listening and trying to understand and listen to that person's point of view. Not to respond back, like you were saying, not to just respond back, but to take in what they're saying to you, whether you agree or disagree or not. Take that in, understand where they're coming from, and process it, and not say that a man's being sassy. You know, they say that on social media all the time. Like, I've seen arguments fall apart in the comments because the first thing somebody says is, "Oh, you being sassy." I'm like, he was just expressing himself. But So taking your experiences. Like I always speak from. I use statistics sometimes, but I usually speak from my personal experiences of what I've kind of gone through when I'm speaking on things. But so bringing all that into a house and that effective communication will keep that house built and keep that house solid and on a good foundation is basically what.
Absolutely. And we definitely need to refrain from a mudslinging contest. That happens in the gender war so much. Eventually it just goes to a mudslinging contest.
Is that like who's right and who's wrong? Is that what that is? Like,
meaning that
trying to be right for the sake of being right?
Meaning mudslinging, meaning that we're not even trying to even listen to what we're relaying to each other anymore. Now we just want to offend each other. We got to the point where now we're just being disrespectful. You know what I mean?
You know how many times the single mom rhetoric has gotten thrown into a comment, and I'm like, I'm not getting it. What's being a single mom do? But that's like one of the insults that just don't know. Oh, well, you must be single, or you follow this, or the woman will automatically go and tell the man he's gay. That's the first thing. That's the first insult women fling out. I'm telling you. Don't look at the comments. That's the first. And I think to myself, I'm like, oh, y'all could have had such a good conversation. Absolutely. And then here you go saying you're gay. And then from there, it's just like you said, mudslinging all over the place.
Absolutely.
And nothing got accomplished.
Yeah, and my thing is that, not to be long-winded, but in order for us to really have success, we have to listen to each other with a purpose. And if a person has an issue with what you're saying, it's okay if they have an issue with. It's okay for you to disagree with me. Like, it's okay. It's not a problem. We can
Right.
literally have a meeting of the minds, and in the end, we totally disagree with each other. But that's okay.
Mhm. It's
But-
all
So
right.
that
and
means
it's okay.
that means that like you got to be open to learning from each other. If
Absolutely.
that's the case, right?
If what the individual is saying is credible, right? If what the individual said, if what the individual saying is credible, because just because
sometimes people just crazy, and you just got to walk away.
opinion doesn't mean that it's credible.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's credible because you have an opinion. It's like assholes, right? Everybody got one.
Everybody got one.
Whoa.
Right? Everybody got one.
AC, we're gonna learn how to edit. We're gonna learn how to edit this video because you just say whatever sometimes. We're gonna work on that. But anyway, we go. But let me, as we wrap it up right quick, one of the things I would say from my personal experience that I've learned, and I think it definitely goes with the theme, how to date effectively in 2026. Rachel definitely hit at it. AC definitely hit at it. It has to do with identity. And sometimes the reality is the person that you're trying to be just is not compatible with that other person. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes that's what it is. You know, sometimes you date, to be honest, if we all look at it, I'm not talking about red flags like you got on last year's Nikes, you know what I'm saying? I mean, some people actually consider that a red flag, but or a red flag like you don't have on Gucci this or that, you know what I'm saying? Right. But sometimes I've seen like on dates, it doesn't take long to find out if at the core, like the core person, the person from the heart, sometimes it didn't take long to find out if they have potential or if they don't. Because really, if you're in a relationship where you can't be the person you're trying to become, assuming, like you all said, that it's a good person, right? You know, you want to be productive in society. You want to go from level A to level B. It's okay to not be content with the way life is and to still have some development. If you find that the person isn't like that, I feel like it doesn't take a lot of time in dating. And that's the sad thing about it, because we could all be compatible in a lot of cases if we understood each other, if we gave each other the right time, if we gave each other, you know, grace to where, hey, you don't have 6 figures, but you got 5, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We got to be able to do that. And so, unfortunately, I think it's really early that we can sometimes see those type of signs where the core person you're dealing with is not compatible with the person you're trying to become. But other than that, if you do see potential in a person, like meaning, man, they stimulate you, man, they remind you of everything you thought was possible.
No cats in the interview, Rachel.
It's important.
Sorry, it was bothering me. So
I'm just playing with you. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Morris.
I do. Oh, wow, nice kitty. I do think that it's important to give each other a...
Don't talking about Rachel's kitty, Morris.
Oh my God.
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, though.
It's a cat. But I do think it's important to give each other a chance. And Rachel, you know, AC, I mean, imagine if I have potential, if AC has potential, if Rachel has potential, if we all got potential and nobody gives us a chance, I mean, the world is going to be a very lonely place. It's just like a job. Sometimes you get that job and you might not never have done a CFO before, but you might have managed contracts, you managed a purchase card. And so you can't say that you're not qualified just because you've never been there. And I think that's one thing we got to understand with dating effectively in 2026, that give me a chance, you know, give us a chance, give ourselves a chance to become, talk it out, walk it out. And I think that notion of sacrificing, taking that first step, we got to do better at that as a people. Anybody agree with that?
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. You know, this is a very nuanced conversation. This has to be a part 2 and 3 conversation, right? Because we could break this down to specific areas, right? We could talk about attire. Do you feel like women should be able to wear whatever the hell they want to wear? Do you feel like certain outfits are inappropriate, Rachel? You know, so
wait. Yeah, we're not gonna answer that right now because that's a part. That's a part 2. That's definitely a part 2.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This could be like 3 parts because there's so many things, right? Should men pants sag? Do you think at a certain age a man pants should stop sagging? Right? There's so many things we can talk about in this conversation. This has to be a part 2, 3, and 4, I would say.
And so as we wrap up, AC, take us first. What do you think as we go with the topic? Just give us 2 things, your quick 2 things that you feel like we need to do in order to date effectively in 2026.
Be introspective. We have to self-analyze. Realize what our own faults are before you want to look at other people's faults. Look at yours first. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, communication. We got to get better at communicating, being able to debate without arguing, and be able to listen to our points and see if we can gather something from that person's point of view.
Some common ground. Yeah. Well, and then Rachel, our expert, we've learned so much from you. What do you want us to take away into 2026? The top 2 points. Love that you share your story. You're one of the most candid people we've ever interviewed. We love
you
that.
asked,
He was about to tear my head off. He was about to rip my head off through the screen. I had to be quiet. Morris. It's getting hot. It's getting hot in here, bro.
Well, Morris, you asked AC.
I was like, yo, it's getting hot. Rachel making it hot. She on my ass. Goddamn. Okay, go ahead, Rachel.
You asked AC the question first, and he chose like the 2 best answers. So,
oh wow,
I guess
come behind that. Yeah,
I know it's hard. Okay, I'll say this in 2026, and I will caveat this with people who love you and will be honest with you, because some people have folks that are yes men in their lives, and it does not benefit you whatsoever. But people who love you and are honest with you, ask them. Because they've listened to all your drama and your past relationships. Ask them, what is it that they think that you should be doing differently? And trust me, if you have people in your life that really love you, they probably already have a list, and they've been waiting on you to ask them this question if they haven't talked to you about it already. So get that from them, and then be honest with whoever you're talking to about what you're looking for. Because I'm honest. So I know we don't have a lot of time, but like a lot of women, they get frustrated with men on dating apps and stuff because it says like they're figuring out their relationship style and everything. I shut up during that time because I'm still trying to figure out my relationship style. But it ain't just men. I'm still trying to figure out, do I want a man living in my house? See, that's my problem. See how I said my house? See how I said my house? So I know that. I know that about myself. Right? You see how I said my house? That's something I got to work on, right? So,
my house. Go ahead, Rachel.
So I knew that about me. I knew when I said that, I was like, see, that's something I got to work on. But just being honest with where you're at, the reservations you might have that. Basically, I'm saying the same thing AC Brown said, just long-windedly. That open communication, because guys might be, y'all might be in the same mind frame right now. Y'all can work that out,
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So
thank you both.
Do a part 2 on this, Morris. We definitely got to do a part 2 on this and speak about a specific area next time.
Yeah. I'm going to invite Rachel back. Would you come back with us one day, Rachel, to finish this up?
Yeah, I'll come back. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love our vibe. Urban Streets Podcast, always keeping it true and authentic, a voice for the people. We're so grateful. And just as my conclusion to this topic about how to date effectively, I think you all said it, and we can't say it no greater than that. But identity, everything as far as how you relate to another person has to do with how you see yourself. You know what I'm saying? If I'm graceful, if I need grace, a lot of times I'll give grace. You see what I'm saying? If I really believe, if I want somebody to believe in me, then I'll give it a chance to believe in someone else. You see what I'm saying? As far as the things that they're trying to accomplish. So identity is everything. And I think, the more you have an appreciation for your own identity, you can appreciate other people. And again, like love, we ain't even talk about this, but it's like, if a person has to be perfect and they can't have any flaws, that's totally unrealistic, and it's not fair. And so at the end of the day, let's keep it real with each other, keep it real with ourselves. Urban Streets Podcast, we're going to be back talking about how to date effectively in 2026, part 2. Look for it. Follow us on Instagram.
Them the ones that's gonna be with you every time you fall. Summertime barbecues, let's do it in the park.